Is this new deal likely to hurt China?
It'll hurt on the margins, rising the domestic content from 62% to 75%. That is, North American content is going to hurt. There's another provision in the agreement, though, which I think is more ominous. That is the provision that says if Canada were to negotiate with a, quote, non-market economy, i.e. China, that the United States could veto the deal that Canada may have with China.
I didn't know that.
Oh, that's in there. Yeah, that's big.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, give us a sense of how China stands right now, because there are some indications that they may be struggling just a little bit with their economy. They're slowing down some. They've got some problems with leverage. How are they doing? How vulnerable are they?
I think China is slowing down a little, but there's great resilience in China. Let's not forget that this is an authoritarian government. The party's in charge. They can move things around without worrying about democracy and people and so forth. They'll weather this, I think. There's not much doubt in my mind.
Well, do they have the staying power, I guess, is the ultimate question.
I think so. Yes, they do.
Because you have said, I saw it in your words, that this could end up being essentially a Cold War, an economic Cold War, and that lasted a long time and was not a non-economic Cold War with Russia.
Well, I'm very concerned. The chasm between our two countries is widening. It's getting deeper. Because of America First policies, the new NAFTA, as you will, trade agreement accelerates that. China also, on its side of the Pacific, is focusing very much on Asia, wants to consolidate as much power as it can in Asia. We're developing into two different camps. In the Soviet Union era, it was nukes. That's not nukes now. It's economic Cold War. It's kind of a high technology Cold War, and I think it's very concerning.
Now, you've said in the past, on Bloomberg, you said that there's room for improvement on China's part, particularly when it comes to things like intellectual property. Things that the president has a point.
Right.
With this new USMCA,
right.
I'll get it sooner or later, USMCA.
I'm working on it too.
Does it strengthen the U.S. position and President Trump's position? So he has a deal with Canada, he has a deal with Mexico, he's negotiating with Europe. Can he turn and really direct all of that force against China?
He will try to turn a little. The problem from the Chinese perspective is they don't know who to talk to. They don't know whether to talk to Wilbur Ross, to Mnuchin, to Lighthizer. Cohn's gone. Even if they were to talk to somebody in the administration, they know that President Trump changes his mind. He pulls the rug out. So it's a huge, big problem from the Chinese perspective. They want to do a deal. They'd like to, because it's in their interest as it's in the U.S. interest. But at this point, they don't know who to talk to, and it's up to the U.S. to kind of set some signals.
They want to do a deal. They want to get this problem behind them. But do they want, or are they open to doing a deal that would fundamentally change some of the things that need to be changed, like intellectual property? I mean, what we hear repeatedly is they're a proud people. Right. They like to save face. But how, if you're negotiating with them, do you recognize that without them using it essentially as a weapon against you? To say, oh, no, we can't do that because we're too proud.
Yeah. No. I think this face thing is kind of overplayed. It's an issue, but it's overplayed. They want an agreement, but they want one where both sides show that they're cooperating with each other. They'll give in a little bit. They know that they're undertaking practices that are unfair from an American perspective. And they can give it a little bit there. The United States give them credit for that. I think that would help.
But if you were advising U.S. business right now, would you be saying this is a matter of months, of years? That is to say, the trade conflict with China, because your decisions about investments, about how you structure your supply lines, things like that, will depend on whether you think this is, are we talking about 6 months or are we talking about 6 years?
Well, in the extreme case, Jack Ma of Alibaba says it's going to be 20 years. I don't think it's going to be quite that long. On the other hand, the question is, will Trump go ahead and impose the first tranche of $200 billion, the next tranche of $267? If he does, then the U.S. businessmen have to start looking at their whole card and thinking about relocating plants. So it depends really on the next, I'd say, several months and the degree to which President Trump goes through with this threat.
Is this an advantage for the president in the midterm elections? That is to say, there's enough hostility toward China across the country. They like the fact that he's doing battle with them.
I think it is. It is an advantage. It's across the board. That is, Republicans, Democrats now are a little concerned about China, just put it mildly. And I think these threats do help him politically.
And at the same time, he has restored relations perhaps with some people, including from Montana, who were concerned about NAFTA and about agricultural exports. We had some senators and some congressmen saying, even Republicans saying, wait a second, Mr. President, that's going to hurt our farmers.
Right. So NAFTA is concluded, and that's behind him. I think that probably helps a little bit, too. But we have to keep our eye on the ball. And for me, that's the growing split between U.S. and China. That's very important. And it's going to take time to be thoughtful about it. We can't just issue tweets. We have to be very, very solid and considerate in how we get this solved.
Let's end on a different split, and that's within the United States Senate, at least it appears. You served 36 years, longest ever for somebody from Montana. You know this institution well. I know that you revere it. Have we done it permanent damage? I mean, as we watched those hearings last Thursday, it was really striking, the animosity. It seemed personal.
I worry that over the last several years, we're diminishing the respect to the integrity of the third branch of government, that is our federal judiciary. It's becoming much more partisan. When I was in the Senate years ago, it was much less partisan. You looked at a nominee, does this person have the requisite judicial temperament? Is he or she competent and a good judge and so forth? Now it's become much more on legislative issues. Where does this nominee stand on issue A, issue X, right to life, or whatever it might be? It's become too political, too partisan.
From your experience inside the Senate, when you see a Lindsey Graham really criticized so pointedly, right, maybe even bitterly, a Dianne Feinstein, can they walk away from this and come back and do business with each other?
They can, but it's going to take a little time. It's not going to be immediate, but they will. In the Senate, you learn you got to work with each other. And sometimes there'll be some ruffled feathers, but they'll get back.